I now pronounce you husband and wife. Will you please kiss your bride?
I remember. They now have two beautiful children, live happily in Colorado. And Trista has just written a beautiful new book. It's called Happily Ever After, The Life-Changing Power of a Grateful Heart. And Trista, it is so good to see you again.
Thank you, you too.
I saw you a few years ago out when I was speaking in Vail.
Yeah.
And I see you and I see Ryan. And you're living happily ever after. Tell people about your life right now.
It's really revolves around our kids. We have a 4- and a 6-year-old, Max and Blakesley, and it's all about just living the Colorado lifestyle, being really active, celebrating family, being together as much as possible. Brian's still a firefighter at the Vail Fire Department, and I've been busy with this little project for the past couple years. But really, it's, I'm a stay-at-home and work mom, so life really just revolves around my kids right now.
Well, I follow you on Twitter.
And same.
There's something that, and tell people, because you are living with a grateful heart, and you are talking about how grateful you are, and there's something that you do at the end of each day that you share online.
I started I tweet my hashtag fave part of day every day, or fave parts of day, depending on the day. It's just a way for me to reflect on the positive, the little things that have happened throughout the day, to end the day on a positive note and know that the next day that I need to consciously be aware of the good things, the little things that are happening. But I think that gratitude is so important. I mean, we've talked about this. I feel like when you're in the rough patches of your life, it's helped me to lift me up during the hard times, and when you're at the really high times, it keeps you grounded. So it was really important for me to share. It's not an autobiography. Yes, it has stories from my life, but it's stories from others. It's stories from Ryan, my friends and family, from strangers. Celebrities. Jenny McCarthy shares, allowed me to share a story. But also Happily Ever Actions, which are little tips.
I love that. And tell people a little bit about that, because it's about being active, about putting it into action, and not just saying these things, but doing things, actions.
Right. My first chapter is called A Conscious Choice, or, consciously I think you need to actively choose gratitude and choose optimism in order to live a happier life. But my Happily Ever Actions are tips that you can take from each chapter. Each chapter is based on a different relationship in your life. So whether it's being a parent or your relationship with your partner, your extended family, friends, coworkers, and the Happily Ever Actions are, like, one of my favorite tips is I'm creating these appreciation jars that if you want to give to a teacher, say, for example, for Christmas, putting a little note from each of the students about what you appreciate about them and keeping them in the jar and then giving that to the teacher at the end of the year.
That's a lovely idea.
So anyway, it's just, there are little tips throughout the book about how you can incorporate
And that's what you've done, and you've talked about the highs and the lows and how to do that. We ask people their questions, and the number one question, we saw you get married on television. We have seen this reality series, and you're not the norm. You're the exception. And people want to know why was it different with you and Ryan when others have not been able to have that everlasting love?
I think it's interesting. I can't speak to the other relationships. But I think that if you compare The Bachelor and The Bachelorette to real world, it's probably not that different, in that how many relationships do you go through before you find the one that you want to spend the rest of your life with. But I will say that we just luckily, or personally, I think that someone was watching out for me, that we just had all the components, trust, honesty, respect, love, commitment, friendship, humor, all of those things wrapped into one. So the
timing was right for both of you.
It was perfect.
And to see you and your beautiful children when I was out there in Vail, you're living happily ever after, and we're very happy for you. You're celebrating your 10th anniversary coming up, and since we saw the wedding, are we seeing the renewal of the vows on ABC as well?
Actually, yes. We will be renewing our vows on ABC. I think it's airing January 19th on ABC in a primetime special. They're doing 4 different specials they're calling it Juanuary, because Juan Pablo is the next Bachelor. So we'll be part of that,
We'll be seeing you then. Well, thank you. And again, it's a lovely read, and there are little nuggets that we all can take and just make our life a little bit happier.
I agree.
I'm so glad you're doing well.
Thank you.
Happily Ever After is in bookstores.